Welcome to ETF 360. I'm Tom Lydon with ETF Trends, along with our Director of Research, Dave Nadig, and a special guest, Brendan Ahern, who's Chief Investment Officer of KraneShares. Hey, Brendan, there's a lot going on here in the U.S. as markets seem to be opening up, but we want to talk about China. What's going on in China, and is it an opening up as well over there? What's going on?
Well, China's actually 3 quarters in front of opening up. That they had a very strong quarantine in the first quarter. So we're actually getting Q4 financial releases, Q4 earnings. And again, that's 3 quarters removed from the quarantine. So I think China's almost like a tell in poker, where because China's a little bit further ahead of the rest of us, we kind of know how things are going to play out.
Now, Brendan, you guys aren't just like a broad China shop. You guys have really interesting focus products, and you just launched a new product called KSTR, tracking the so-called star market. Can you run us through that? What is the star market, and why should we care?
Well, the star market is a new board, part of the Shanghai Stock Exchange, really geared to allowing innovative growth companies to come to market. So like many countries, China has lots of needs from a technology perspective. You know, we've got this big semiconductor shortage globally. The same is true in China. So really the star board is to provide a venue, predominantly technology companies, some of the biotech companies, really to come to market and fund their growth by raising capital via an IPO so they can put that into research and development.
When you look at China, I mean, here in the U.S., all the talk about IPOs, SPACs, innovative technology, is the same thing happening in China? And what's the private to public market look like over in China?
Well, in our next life, we might want to come back as a Chinese investment banker, because it is going off in terms of IPOs, Shanghai, Shenzhen, as well as Hong Kong. Some of this is U.S.-listed Chinese companies relisting in Hong Kong, where investors really know and recognize those companies. At the same time, it's happening in mainland China. And within the mainland last year, 47% of all the capital raised via IPO was done on the star board. So clearly the star board is taking this leading role of being really where growth companies are going to list in mainland China.
Well, if 2021 is the year of the ox is moving pretty fast. 2022 is the year of the tiger. Is it going to be that much faster next year?
I think, stepping back, China 20 years ago was 6.5% of MSCI emerging markets. Today it's 40%. And I think there's a path in 3 to 5 years, it can be 50%. Within the decade, could be 60%. So yes, this capital markets growth is a big part of that. And I think that trend is only going to continue.
So Brandon, these companies that are listed in the star market, do they graduate? I mean, here in the US, we often talk about companies that sort of start in a small cap index and then eventually graduate into the big boys, and then they become real capital flow trades. Is the same thing happening in China?
I think it is happening, I'll bet, kind of incrementally, pragmatically, where these companies are going public. What we're seeing is they're being added to other benchmarks because the star board's part of the Shanghai Stock Exchange. I think, you're going to see those companies added to the Shanghai Composite. We actually just had some of the first companies added to Stock Connect. So Stock Connect is the trading venue that allows foreign investors to go into China. And we just saw the first batch of star companies be approved for Stock Connect trading. So yes, I would say we're seeing that kind of maturing graduation, that kind of trajectory taking place today.
Well, Brendan, thanks so much for joining us and giving us this insight into the Chinese market. And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time here on ETF 360.